Welcome to the Caregivers Coaching Corner. I'm Dementia Coach Diane, and I'm sharing my journey as I care for my husband Ben, who's living at home with Lewy body dementia. Here's where we talk about all aspects of caregiving and self care, because both really matter. And today, in this multi part video series, I want to talk about building a support system, because it's one of the biggest mistakes that I made early on, which was not to have a support system. I want to talk about why it's so important to have one early, especially as a dementia caregiver. And then in the next video, talk about who might end up in your support system and where to find them, and some steps that you can start to take right now. So, if you think about it, one of the biggest mistakes that I certainly made as a new caregiver, and I think many of us do, is that we think we can go it alone. I don't know if we're trying to be superheroes or we just don't want to burden others. I know in my case, I felt somewhat disloyal talking about what was going on with Ben to friends, family, neighbors. Part of it is because I was confused and I didn't know. And yet, this often happens with dementia. Things started to happen so fast that I ended up not having any time to really research professional caregivers to help me or even explain to others what was going on. I found myself in crisis mode really fast. Ben was experiencing something called the imposter syndrome. And it doesn't happen in all types of dementia, but it can happen in Lewy body dementia. And that's where I looked like his wife, but he thought I was an imposter. He started calling my sister, who lives halfway across, the country, telling her that someone was trying to break into the house. He said, he was scared and he was going to call the police. And so she's on the phone trying to tell him not to call the police. And I'm trying to convince him that I'm his wife, and neither one was working. I had to stay in a hotel numerous times just to keep the peace. And when you're, alone and scared and exhausted in a hotel room, you're in crisis mode. So I wish, again, that I had considered bringing people on board at the first signs of Ben's dementia, not when I was in crisis mode. So think about it. Where are you right now on your journey? I've talked to caregivers who have children, for instance. We don't, but they have children that have families and jobs, and they don't want to burden them. None of us like to burden others. I don't like to do that. I don't really like to ask for help. Part of it is perhaps my pride, but it's probably more so, as I said, because I figure everybody's busy and nobody needs my stuff. But if I did have children, I know now that I would definitely bring them on board early, and we'd find a way to work it out together as a family. In some ways, I think we owe it to our family members to let them be involved. And if we're keeping them out or pushing them away, it's actually a sign of disrespect. And I know now, and we're almost 5 years into this journey, that though Ben doesn't have any family, I have brothers and sisters and nieces and nephews who care about Ben and who want to be involved. And by waiting as long as I did and having his condition deteriorate, I really didn't give them the chance to interact with him when he still had more of his faculties available to him. So please, if you are in a situation either caring for someone with a chronic illness, or in my case, with someone who's living with dementia, get your support system in place, certainly with friends and with family members. And it may be that you don't know what to ask for, and that's okay, but at least let them know what's going on. It's not something that's disloyal or unloving for your loved one. In fact, I think it's one of the most loving things you can do. And if you're confused, that's fine. Tell them that too. If you don't want any help right now, that's okay, because I know for myself, I wasn't even sure what to ask for. But at least let them know what's going on and keep them informed. That's step number one. Remember, this is not something to be done alone, it's a team effort. They say it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a metropolis to take care of someone living with dementia or another chronic illness, and you deserve to have the help, and so does your loved one. So thank you for sharing anything in the comments. If you agree with me, give me a thumbs up or let me know if this was something that you found to be true for you. And in the next video, I'll talk more about some of the different people that ended up in my support system and some steps that you can take right now. Don't go it alone.